Dr. Paul, and I'd like to welcome you to Bridges Live. And I am on the phone with Miss Barbara Ward, and she has. Well, we'll just get into it. We'll have Miss Barbara tell us about herself, because I don't like doing it because it's kind of like introducing a baseball team, and I'm not into that. So, Miss Barbara, thank you for coming on with Dr. Paul. Thank you.
Well, you're so welcome.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, because I know I have you on, but people are going to want to know, wow, I'm glad Barbara's here. But tell us a little bit about what you are and what you do.
Okay, well, currently I am retired from the federal government, but my background spans over 47 years working in private industry and working for the state and federal government. I am a Vietnam-era veteran, so I am a Vietnam nurse that served stateside taking care of wounded troops during 1974 to 1976. I have worked in teaching hospitals as an assistant hospital administrator, and more poignantly, since we're going to be talking about veterans, I actually served as the Deputy Secretary for Women and Minority Veterans for the state of California for 4.5 years. And I just finished a political appointment which started under the Obama's administration, and I was the director for the Center for Minority Veterans and retired in July of 2018. And currently, recently started my consulting business, focused on working in the areas of leadership development, change transformation, and training and mentoring opportunities. So that kind of gives you an quick overview of my background.
That is awesome, and I love transformation, and that's a key word that I actually use a lot. A lot of people use change, or transformation means you come from one thing and you go to another, and that to me is important. So you started your own business with the transformation and training and mentoring. Why did you start that program, or was it just something you're just so passionate about?
Well, actually, my two greatest passions, and I said this when I retired, I feel that it's very important, especially for minority leaders who've had success throughout their careers, to share their experience and their knowledge with others. And an example is that I'm currently mentoring an African-American student who's finishing her degree in healthcare administration, and she's with the Georgetown University healthcare administration program. And I just feel passionate about it being a responsibility for us to pay it forward and to give back. I think from the leadership perspective, my business will focus certainly still on veterans and healthcare issues. So I'm continuing to pursue the things that I've been passionate about throughout my 47-year career.
So when you got your political appointment, did you do like a cheerleading dance? Or you like, yeah?
Well, certainly the one in Washington, D.C., definitely. Because that came as a total surprise, and my resume ended up being forwarded to the White House Personnel Office by someone who I did not even know, but we had a mutual friend who thought that the skills and the experience that I had and the successes that I had, more specifically in serving the needs of veterans in California, would be really valued on a national level from a policy standpoint.
So let's dive into the veterans. Most people know, if they listen to Dr. Paul, that I'm a veteran. But that's not why this is important. One of the things I don't think people understand is that there is a significant difference in minority veterans and other veterans. What are some of those differences?
Well, I guess the best way for me to explain that is that generally all veterans have similar issues. You know, if you served in the combat zone and you were exposed to combat injuries and seeing very traumatic type events, then you could have post-traumatic stress disorders or any other mental illnesses that could be associated with that. I think the best way to explain the differences would be based on impact. If you are a minority veteran with post-traumatic stress disorders, oftentimes in our local communities and families, there is a greater negative stigma attached to it. So many times minority veterans will not seek out treatment, or when they do seek treatment, they feel because the providers that are actually treating them do not understand their background or appreciate their culture, they're more suspicious of the treatment that's being provided, so it's a higher tendency for them to drop out of treatment, which leads to other issues.
Does that correlate with why more minority veterans are on the streets, homeless, and with mental illnesses than other veterans?
Well, I think that has a lot to do with it. When I served as the Deputy Secretary for Women and Minority Veterans for the state of California, specifically Los Angeles, had the largest homeless population, and the majority of them were minority veterans. And the majority of them were Vietnam veterans. And many of us, if we followed what happened with Vietnam veterans, because our country at that time felt that that was a war that we should never have engaged in, and right. Instead of them being anti the war, they also translated that into being anti anyone who served in the war.
Right.
And so minority veterans and all veterans at that time did not necessarily get the treatment that they needed. And so a lot of your minority veterans, like in Los Angeles, did not get treated, and then they ended up being chronically homeless because they could not get the services and benefits that they had actually earned.
So, one thing I love about doing my radio show or my podcast is about getting people from here to there with what they think they understand, what they think they know, to what you call true knowledge. The one question I have that it just came to me really, it's about what is the thing that we're missing about minority veterans that we can help with as a public?
Well, I think the thing that the public can help with is starting out with acknowledging the fact that whether you're a veteran or a non-veteran, there are some inequities in our society, and we hear about them every day. If you're talking about unemployment rates always tend to be higher for minorities in general. So a lot of the other issues that impact minority veterans could be related to the fact that they can't get jobs, or the jobs that they get are lower paying jobs, and that puts them in a different position from that standpoint. So I think from the community's perspective is doing everything that they can to serve the needs of minority veterans and make sure that they know where they can get the resources. Like there are veteran service organizations, major ones like the Disabled American Veterans, American Legion, Veterans of Foreign War. All of them are there to assist the VA in providing services and ensuring that veterans get the benefits that they deserve. A lot of our minority veterans, even though the Department of Veterans Affairs has done an excellent job in utilizing the social media platforms, you can find out anything that you want to know about benefits on Facebook and on the VA's website, but a lot of minority veterans are not comfortable in using those social media platforms. So I think churches, any nonprofit organizations, the YMCA, the YWCA, just recognizing that there is an educational gap there and doing what they can to assist in directing minority veterans to the available resources in their community.
So many people are getting missed, and it just makes me sick to think that even to this day, in this what we call this modern day age, and people are getting missed, but like you said, the people that are getting missed is from the ages of not of the modern day age. It's from previous wars. It's for our previous contacts. And even still, me being in my 50s, there's still veterans, minority veterans, even in my age and less, who are still being missed, and they still don't understand that the resources are out there that can help them. Is there, we could say we need better commercials or better advertisement. Is there another way to reach some of these veterans?
Well, that a lot of veterans don't realize that there is a Center for Minority Veterans.
Right.
And you can find them on the website very easily. They have what's called Minority Veteran Program Coordinators, and there are almost 300 of those individuals. They are actually VA employees, and they serve in their local community to provide outreach programs, workshops of that nature, and to partner with community resources to outreach to minority veterans. So anyone can pick up a phone and call their local VA medical center. They can call the local benefits office or the National Cemetery office, because all of those different offices and facilities have a minority veteran program coordinator. If you go on the VA's website, the Center for Minority Veterans, they actually have a complete listing of the minority veteran program coordinators, their names, and actually their phone numbers for contact. And they serve the purpose of helping minority veterans with any issues that they're having. It's not just about outreach, but if they're having problems with claims and they can't get the status or information on where their claim is in the process, then the minority veteran program coordinator can assist them.
Now, most people may think that minority veterans, because I'm a black male and you're a black woman, but we're not just talking about black people. We're talking about minorities. Is there like an account of who is and who isn't a minority so people can understand what that is?
Well, according to the public law that established the Center for Minority Veterans in 1994, and Congress established the Center for Minority Veterans at that time. Minority veterans include African American or black veterans, Hispanic veterans, Asian, Pacific Islanders, American Indian, Native Alaskans, and Hispanic veterans. And those are the groups that are designated in public law as being minority veterans. And I know when I was the director for the Center for Minority Veterans, many times we would get questions about LGBT veterans and why we did not represent their interests. And it's simply because the regulation did not include them back in 1994. So,
do you think those regulations will change to include the LGBT anytime soon, or is that just something different?
Well, there was a push under the Obama administration. There were several bills that were passed just for that purpose, and it just never made any progress. And recently, Senator Duckworth, or Congresswoman Duckworth, she has submitted and proposed a new bill to include the LGBT veterans under the umbrella of being represented by the Center for Minority Veterans. But, that has to go through the bill process, but it's still in progress.
As you say, you've been helping with this young woman advance or just, concentrate on where she can go in her career. If someone needed your help or would like your help, would you want to give that information, how they can reach you?
Yes. Well, actually, they can go to my website and submit a contact form. My website is easy to remember because it's mybarbaraward.com. And my business phone number, the business is Ward and Associates LLC, and the phone number is area code 571-257-7656.
Thank you, Miss Barbara. I never look at things as trouble or hard to do, and I think that's a perspective that we can all get around.
Mm-hmm.
But with your information and what you just gave us, it was absolutely enlightening for a lot of us who probably didn't know, and probably the few who said, I didn't know I could help. And so you definitely touched on to that. Is there something that you noticed that we need better work at, I would say, like we need to concentrate on that's being missed?
When you say we, I'm not sure who you're referencing.
Well, we meaning the community, we meaning public, we meaning federal. I know, and I think when things get missed on certain levels. So let's stick with the community level. What could we do that's being missed that we could do to help?
Well, I think on the community level, every state has a Veterans Affairs Department that sort of emulates partners with the federal Department of Veterans Affairs. Like when I was the Deputy Secretary in California, it was the California Veterans Affairs Department. So I think if community leaders would make contact with their state Veterans Affairs offices, they could help that way, because there are a lot of partnerships and opportunities that oftentimes veterans miss. I also think that community leaders should make sure that they have the information about the Center for Minority Veterans. Their phone number is area code 202-461-6191, and they can contact the Center for Minority Veterans anytime that they run into a veteran that is having issues, that needs assistance and support. That's what the Center for Minority Veterans is there for. And I think that community leaders also need to stay in touch with their local political representatives, because they're the ones that need to know what the challenges are that veterans are facing, because they're the ones that also pass the laws and make sure that the federal government is aware of what additional services that veterans need.
When I'm listening to community leaders and growing up in the 60s and 70s myself, I don't know if there's any community leaders in communities anymore. It seemed like, is there, or who, we know of our senator, we know of our legislative, we know of our mayor, we know of but community leaders or community organizers, I think, is a little bit different. Do you think that's being missed also, as being a community leader?
Well, I don't think so, because I know through the Center for Minority Veterans, we used to partner with community associations, nonprofit organizations, and when I worked in California, they had a coalition from that standpoint that included politicians, church leaders, and the VA has done a good job with helping throughout the United States to help local groups organize. So they have their own coalitions now that include, very small nonprofit agencies that want to serve and assist veterans, and politicians, the state departments of Veterans Affairs. So I think it's not that they're being missed. I think that oftentimes people don't reach out to these coalitions to join them, to engage them, to help veterans.
I think you're right. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know I'm a golfer, and I know you're a golfer. Maybe we can go out and hit some links together sooner than later. But thank you, Ms. Barbara Ward, for all your help, and thank you for your service, and then thank you for your continuous service and this blessing in this world, because we need people, and only we could do it together. We can't do it separately. I believe that wholeheartedly.
Okay, and one last thing I would like to bring to everyone's attention is that the Department of Veterans Affairs, in partnership with the Center for Minority Veterans, is hosting the first National Minority Veterans Summit in Dallas, Texas, September 21st and 22nd, and that veterans or anyone who would like to find out more about minority veterans can go online to the Center for Minority Veterans website and actually register. Attendance is free. So I think this is history in the making, because for as long as the Department of Veterans Affairs has existed, they have never done a summit specifically focused on the needs of minority veterans.
Wow, you mentioned that. I know we mentioned that in the conversation we had, and I was thinking I would love to get down there myself to be a part of that. That is just going to be amazing.
Yes, I'm hoping that they're targeting to try and at least have a full attendance of 500 people. So I'm really encouraging minority veterans, community leaders, anyone who has an interest in knowing more about the issues, the benefits, and those type things that impact minority veterans. This would certainly be the summit to attend.
Well, God bless, Miss Barbara, and again, I'm so honored to talk with you, and I know we'll talk sooner than later. So
Okay.
You have a great, great afternoon, and thank you so much for coming on the Bridges Live.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you.